we have to first of all look at what positivism means. This idea, this concept, or rather a philosophy, positivism, comes much earlier than post-positivism. Post actually means after. Positivism is that set of ideas that knowledge could be gained through empirical, observable, measurable phenomena, examined through scientific method. Positive means simply, in a simpler and shorter terms, positive means affirmative. Its shorter form is yes. Positivism is saying yes to the natural world, to the physical, objective world, especially when we are doing research, carrying out research, when we want to investigate the world around us. Basically, the answer is yes. Yes, what? Yes, we can know the objective world, as long as we carry our research, our study out properly, preferably through experiences, through observation, through measurement, in objective, in a scientific method. Positivism has been around since, if you look it up, since the early part of 19th century, right through that century of the first wave of industrialization. Majority of Western sciences and technology emerged in the first wave that shocked and transformed the whole world head to toe, and unprecedentedly. At that time, scientists, especially scientists studying the so-called hard sciences, physics, chemistry, biology, and mechanics, and so forth. These hard scientists, they were quite affirmative. They were quite positive. They were quite certain that the world around us, especially the objective physical world, was knowable. We can know the world for sure, with the certainty. And the causal relationships can be made clear if we carry out our study, carry out investigation thoroughly and scientifically. But positivism as a philosophical principle or a scientific principle has its own problem. On and on, as science moved into the realm of social realm, as people start to study, to research, investigate the human world, suddenly people came to realize that the human world is not that mechanical, it's not that cold physical as the natural objective world. The human world is complicated. The human world, the human beings are multi-purposeful. The human beings are hard to predict. The causality could be messy. Here are the problems when we deal with the social human world, that positivists might not shed 100% on the human world without mistake. With that in mind, the social scientists came up with the so-called post-positivism or post-positivist theory, the category of post-positive theory. This type of theory is still based on the old principles that was utilized, that was popularized in the 19th century by the scientists and researchers in the hard sciences. That is, we carry out our study based on empirical observation of the world. And we apply to these observations, furthermore, we apply scientific methods. But on the other hand, the scholars of social sciences also made it clear that humans and human behavior are not as constant, are not as predictive, are not as easy to study as the elements, as the objects of the physical world. Take a look at the four aspects of the positivist theory, namely goals, ontology, epistemology, and axiology. Let's look at them one by one. The goals of post-positive theory. Take a look at the goals. The goals should be said to be the same as those set by physical scientists for their theories. The goals are simple. We need explanations. We need predictions, and furthermore, we may also need control, prediction, explanation of the human world, of the human society, as we need explanation, prediction, and control of the physical objective world. Okay, take a look at the example. These examples might involve your future research, might involve the study for your future dissertation, so forth. The goals, for example, we want to explain operation of political advertising. We want to predict the commercials or advertisement, the effects of the commercials and advertisements we put out. Moreover, we may want to control the voting behaviors of certain groups of people or targeted citizens. All these goals can be related to the post-positivist theories. Take a look at the ontology related to post-positivism. What does ontology mean? Rewind. Ontology means the nature of our existence, what is worth knowing. For post-positivism, the world and the social world exist apart from our perception of it. In other words, the world, whether it's physical or the social world, exists. They are objective. They exist irrespective of our perception, irrespective of our awareness. Next, human behavior, more importantly, human behavior is predictable to be studied systematically. That is positivism means. Yes, we can know about our behavior. We can examine and we can study human society, human behavior and actions as if these are objects called natural objects. Furthermore, post-positivists recognize that social world does have more variations. This is what makes post-positivism different from the age-old positivism. Post-positive scholars, scientists, they acknowledge that the social world, the human world, our society, as study objects are more various, have more variations. And hence, this is why post-positivism has an element of post in it. The epistemology of post-positivism. Take a look. Knowledge. How do we get knowledge in terms of post-positivism? Knowledge is advanced through systematic logical search for regularities and causal relationships, employing scientific knowledge. The first item, as we have read through, it's the same deal as positivism. The world can be known, the world can be studied and examined through systematic, logical, and scientific research. The result, the achievement of such scientific, systematic endeavor is certain regularities, certain causal relationships. Fixed regularity, fixed causal relationships can be found through employing such methodology. Secondly, advances come when there is an intersubjective agreement among scientists studying a given phenomenon. Pay attention. This may not as related to post-positivism as it is related to other branches of the three other categories of the general category of communication theories. Okay. The second point is emphasizing the social part of scientific study. Take a look. Agreement. Intersubjective agreement. What does intersubjective mean? Inter means between subjects. Sorry, the subject here does not mean the subject we will write about, the subject we talk about in class. The subject here simply means an individual human being. In the process of more abstract, more philosophical activity, such as the epistemological activity, such as in the process of getting knowledge, in the process of knowing me as an individual, as a subject, as a human being who have subjective experiences. In this context, subjective sounds more philosophical, okay? Intersubjective agreement among scientists. When scientists agree on the conclusion, on the new issues of knowledge concerning certain given phenomena or object, when people in the scientific community, namely the scientists, agree on something, then we say advances are made. Scientific advancement is made. Thirdly, post-positivists find confidence in the community of science. Again, it's like repeating the second item. Community. In the community of social researchers. In the community. Scientific knowledge. The creation of scientific knowledge is a social process. Keep that in mind. It is worth emphasizing. The creation of scientific knowledge is not an individualistic process. More often than not, it is an effort made by a group of people, a community of people. Even if during the creation of specific knowledge, of specific item, each individual scientist has to work individually, in private, facing his own mind and body in the whole process of abstract thinking and conceptualization. But apart from that part, that lonely part of mental process, still, when knowledge, acceptable knowledge, wide accepted knowledge is created, it has to involve group work. Okay, fourthly, axiology. Then what is the part of our morals and values in the creation of knowledge and theory? First of all, cautious reliance on scientific method. Here again, we can see that positivist tradition that is handed down through history. Scientific method, objective, systematic observation and empirical observation and then application of objective and scientific methods are the keys to ensure objectivity, to ensure the wide applicability and wide acceptability of any scientific knowledge, not to mention the theories we try to create. Secondly, the objectivity inherent in the application keeps the researcher's value out of research. Okay, again, it's like repeating the first item. Unlike in the research and study of hard sciences such as physics, chemistry, biology, or mechanical engineering, such subjects as when we study the human world, our perspective tend to be tainted by our personal preferences of values and such as what is moral, such as what is proper, such as what is right and just, and so forth. But in order to keep our study, examination scientific and objective, we need a lot of times to keep our own values, our own personal preferences, especially related to morality and politics, at bay. Thirdly, the value, the social scientists, social scholars that apply post-positivism always fear that personal values, human values, could bias the choice and application of methods.